My name is Cheyenne Erickson, and for my presentation, I'm going to discuss the pros and cons of online classes versus on campus classes. So, on campus classes are definitely more formal and they were definitely more organized. So, it was helpful for me to stay on track and just not, veer off and do whatever I want. The first pro is the peers. So not only was there peer revision, but if I missed a class, there was definitely somebody there that could help me catch back up. Or if the teacher wasn't explaining something well, I could ask them additional questions and they could get me on the right track. The second pro was better access to help. So since it was a more one-on-one setting, it was easier to just ask questions as needed. Pro number 3 was that it was more in depth. So because it's specified times during a week that are only about an hour and a half long, it was just easier to get a more in-depth understanding of the subject or chapter. The first con is definitely heavy homework. Because I had in-class and out-of-class assignments, there was just so much to do, especially if I missed one class. The second con was the closer timelines. Because it was 2-3 times a week that I had to go to class, I would have things due on a Tuesday and a Thursday, and sometimes I even had more deadlines than that, whether it be also Friday and Saturday or Saturday and Sunday. Con number 3 was definitely limited free time. So there was long hours of homework and just such a strict schedule that I didn't have a lot of time to do whatever I wanted. Overall, campus was definitely more helpful in understanding the subject, but it's much harder to maintain a good grade. Online is a lot less demanding, which is good for people who need a more flexible schedule like me, who has such a hectic life. The first pro is the moderate timeline. Because there's only one deadline a week, it's a lot easier to work around my schedule, as well as it only being a simple procedure rather than having like a 6-part paper due. It's usually only like one chapter or one assignment. Pro number 2 is the better teacher contact. I usually found that if I had a question, I almost had an immediate response within 10-15 minutes from the teacher. And it also seemed like grading happened a lot faster and was just better overall. Pro number 3 is in-person anxieties. So personally, I have a lot of anxiety going out into public, so it's nice to be at home, comfortable with not a lot of people around me while I'm doing schoolwork. The first con is definitely procrastination. Because there was so much independence that I was given, I just found it was so easy to veer off and not turn in assignments. The second con is misunderstandings because not everything can make sense. So sometimes if an assignment didn't make sense or a chapter didn't make sense, it wasn't as easy to just clear up my confusion. The con number 3 is definitely the different office hours. Because it's not in person, it wasn't as easy to just meet with the teacher because it was a phone call or an email. Overall, I found online was definitely easier, but there were so many chances for me to procrastinate and get off track. In comparison, on campus is definitely better for those who procrastinate or need a more strict schedule or, go off track all the time. But online is good for people who need a more personalized schedule, whether that's because they work a lot or they have kids or medical problems, whatever the reason is. I just found it was definitely more flexible. The most useful thing I found for online classes was the timeline I was given because I was able to work around my own schedule rather than the teacher's schedule or the school's schedule. The most useful thing about campus classes was the teacher time that I was given. Because I was able to just meet with them on a regular basis, I was able to have a better understanding of the class. The most difficult thing I found for online classes was definitely the modules because sometimes things got out of order or it just didn't make sense and it wasn't as easy to just clear up automatically. The most difficult thing for on-campus classes were any immediate questions I had. If I was not in class, it felt like I had to wait a much longer time to get a response. So I found there were lots of times where I was sitting with no answer. So those are the pros and cons of online versus on-campus classes. I hope it helps you.